Broncos Country, what is going on? I'm here for a second post game with my good friends, Mark from Marky Sports and Jeremy Sean Otten. Thanks so much for coming on and talking about this game. What a thrilling victory, just a dogfight, a straight up dogfight. Guys, we'll start with Mark, then we'll get your thoughts on it, Jeremy. But instant reaction to this 10-9 victory over the New York Jets.
Hey, yeah, man. Shoot, a win is a win, and I don't care if they're ugly. I don't care if they're pretty. I love this game. It kind of reminded me of the Tim Tebow years, right? Where you just kind of gutted out. It was sloppy. The conditions were nasty. I don't think anybody was really expecting it.
No.
But man, it feels good to be back at 500, and it's crazy how this team always seems to do it the hard way, right? Because I think we talked about it. If you're 2-2 after 4 games, you'll take that. And we just decided to do it in the toughest way possible. So, but hey, it works, man. I love it. I love it. Anybody that's complaining about it or upset at Sean Payton or Bo Nix, you guys are out of your minds on this one, due to a lot of circumstances that will break down. But man, and we got ourselves a defense. So I feel good, man. How you guys feeling?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was like, there's, an ugly win is so much prettier than a pretty loss, that doesn't matter. And anybody's talking about, oh, Bo Nix didn't look good in the, first half or whatever. Yeah, neither did one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that thing was so ugly. It's hard when you're watching the game tape because when you're watching the game, you're like, it doesn't look that bad, but then they take a close shot and you're like, oh, they're absolutely drenched.
Right. Yeah.
And they look like they're throwing rugby footballs out there. And yeah, it's just, man, I would have been so upset. I was already getting to the point where I was so upset. Sorry, my Bronco fan here wants to say hi.
Yeah,
I was getting so upset that the refs took away what should have been a touchdown, and that would have iced, sealed, signed, delivered everything. And no, they have to blow the whistle dead, which is you already hosed us on a challenge, and it's why would you blow the whistle when you're not sure? And yeah, I will just say I'm so happy that we look so much better. Bo Nix walked off the field a lot easier than Aaron Rodgers did because he was taking so much just punishment on the field, and Bo was staying relatively clean for the most part, just getting the ball out. So
2 weeks in a row, man. 2 weeks in a row, no sacks.
Yeah. So. Oh, you know what? You got to put the hat on, and I got to do this again because that's 2 in a row.
Dude, that's right. That's right.
We got to keep it going. We got to keep it going. Whatever we need to do.
Yes, I love breaking out the foam hat. And man, I love what you led with, Mark, too, about the offense looked atrocious for most of the game, but this is where I think, I don't know, my fanhood just kind of comes through. It's check the expectations once that clock start, enjoy the game, man, for what it was. And man, this was a dogfight. And I think the biggest takeaway for me, put it on the thumbnail, is that, man, I think we got an elite defense, man. I don't throw that term around lightly. This defense is menacing. They have an identity of just physicality. Everybody tackles from the defensive line through the secondary, and we're aggressive. I love this Wade Phillips style of defense, totally, where you're just blitzing like crazy and all that. It's Denver Broncos football. What were your guys' takeaways on the defensive side of the ball, man?
I was off the chain, man. The defense is awesome again. I love the aggressiveness. I give VJ his flowers, man. I've had a history of being so mean to him in terms of a coach, right? Mm-hmm. Back to his head coaching days, and obviously the debacle at the beginning of last year. But man, oh man, he is dialed in. But I love it because I feel like they're just absolutely always flying around, but they're very disciplined. They don't miss a lot of tackles. Everything's contested. And yeah, man, on that 4th down where they blitzed PJ Locke off the corner, I didn't think he was actually going to come in on the blitz and the fact that they did it in that particular situation, and Aaron Rodgers is known to be like one of the best quarterbacks when blitzed. So like typically teams don't blitz him, but my God, he didn't care. He kept the defense the way that it's going. I love it. We're deep. It's awesome, man. We make it tough for everyone, and I feel like it keeps us in every game, and that's all you can ask for as you're developing a lot of pieces on the offensive side. So I love it, man. I think the defense is balling, and kudos to VJ, man. He deserves it.
No doubt. No doubt. Jeremy?
And that's what I said last week. I was like, we better not blitz Aaron Rodgers like we blitzed last week. And he did it in the right ways, in the right formulas, on the right. He was just not here. And man, and Rodgers had a tough day today. Like, I mean, he had to gut it out to walk off the field. But it's guys like Justin Chanad who are flying around. And that stat that they said where there's literally one person on our defense that was drafted in the first round, Patrick Surtain, who stopped in the show, by the way. Appreciate that. But that's an insane stat to be that playing this well, elite defense, and to have one person, one first round pick on the defense is insane. I mean, all these other teams are stacked. The TJ Watts and just go down the list. How many Jets do that? Like, they have linemen, Gardner, all these people. And I just love the fact that, dude, I'll just say, Patrick Surtain always goes without saying he plays great. He's the one. He's on the Champ Bailey. I didn't think I would ever see someone ever play like Champ Bailey, and he's on that trajectory. He's insane. Yeah. But to be able to respond like Riley Moss, even on the catches that they made, again, dude, I am so like impressed by the way that this guy's playing. His intensity and his stickiness and every single thing. If you catch something on him, it better be perfect. And that I was going to be so upset if that PI call would have cost us the game, because I'm sorry, but that was good coverage. He didn't look back for the football, but he wasn't on the guy. He was just had his arm through his where he was facing, but like he wasn't draped on him. He wasn't pulling on him. And so I was like, you've got to be kidding me if that's the call. And I love the fact that the right team won today, even with all of the things going on. We should have had that touchdown like we talked about. But like you said, Mark, the defense just kept us in it long enough for Bo Nix to kind of settle down in the rain. And once we finally got some stuff going, it was like the defense didn't – so many times in the past, the offense would finally get going and then the defense would relax. They didn't. They just kept the intensity the whole way. And almost to that point where in the game where we remember they got that false start at the 1 on 4th and 1 and then kicked that field goal. I was almost like they got lucky by getting that because they got points out of that. Our defense was showing up so much. Yeah. I mean, it's risky because it felt like a touchdown was going to win you the game at that point. But man, just first and goal, second and goal, third and goal, right at the 1. Nope. Just stopping them. I just loved the resolve of the team. And yeah, again, I was with you, Mark. I've been so tough on VJ. 70 points. I was like, get him out of here. Like, no way. And they're just balling. And I'm sure Jim Leonard and all the other staff have a lot to do with that too. But he's the one making the calls, and he's the one getting his team to play inspired, and he's doing a heck of a job.
No doubt about it. Wonderfully said, Jeremy. I think that before we kind of get to the offensive side of things, I think it would be good to just, shout some guys out on defense with their performance. And I'll kick us off, I guess. I want to give credit to Justin Strnad. We've mentioned him a little bit, but losing Alex Singleton, I know that different fans, media people, they have different opinions on Alex Singleton, his importance, and what that loss means to the defense. But I was I'm like, man, he's a captain, he's a tone setter for this defense. And Cody Barton getting the green dot, not being in the system for very long, right? Just came over this offseason. And Cody Barton, Justin Sternad played really, really well. And I think Justin Sternad, hopefully he can string performances like this together. But with what he did in preseason, what he's doing now, it's why you stay patient with some of these players, even later into their rookie contract, because we're getting some great play out of him that honestly I didn't expect coming into the season.
Yeah, no doubt.
One thing I had to say real quick about Alex Singleton, I said that, you know, Bucky Irving shook him out of his soul last week. I apologize, because I've never seen a performance where you tear your ACL 6 plays into a game, play the rest of the game, lead the team in tackles, and then don't even know you did it for 2 days. I mean, what an absolute animal that guy is.
Yeah.
And get well. And he doesn't want to leave the team. That's the other thing that just shows you who he is. I'm going to stay with the team. I'm not going to rehab off in some other state or back home when you guys are on the road. He wants to be with us. And, you know, what Mark was saying all about how much he loves Alex Singleton, that's exactly, he's the heart, man. And even when he's not out there, they still showed up exactly like Alex Singleton plays. And yeah, that was like a legendary performance. And that's 10 years from now, I will remember that a guy tearing his ACL and playing the rest of the game and just leading the team in tackles. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons I've always respected, you know, Phillip Rivers when he played. He did the same thing in a playoff game, and he balled out. But yeah, they didn't seem to miss a beat, man. Cody Barton fit right in. You know, 10 carries for 4 yards for Breece Hall. You're talking about the guy that in his first 2 seasons when he played against the Broncos, he absolutely tore us apart. You know, we shut him down real quick. But yeah, the defense overall just absolutely incredible. I like these kind of games a lot. I wasn't expecting for the wet conditions to affect the game as much as it did. It just seemed like it was unusually slick, right? So I was doing some digging because I was like, you know, people played in rain before. Yeah. But did you guys know it was 98% humidity during the game?
Yeah.
Which they say is it makes like things incredibly slick. But in addition to that, apparently, and I don't know if this is verified or not, we can get all scientific now. Apparently, like when you have moisture that's caused like from hurricanes, obviously they got the hurricane moisture, it's even more wet than a regular normal rain. And so yeah, it was just weird. It was weird to see it. Aaron Rodgers missed probably 10 to 12 throws.
Yeah.
From it as well. And I was kind of annoyed because they kept only focusing on Bo not being able to grip the ball. And I'm like, I get it. And that's fine because he wasn't really able to at times. But I mean, Rodgers was the same for him. But it made it almost seem like it was a Bo Nix problem, not a everybody on the field.
Why didn't he put on the gloves? Were the gloves just making things even more slick? I know that rain can be tricky, but that was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I was surprised by it. I mean, it seems like it because if you notice, like when Marvin Mims was returning the punts, he took his gloves off.
So, you're right. Yeah,
you know, it was almost like, I don't know if it's just a field thing. I feel like if I threw with a glove on and it was wet, it would make it worse. I know they have like specific ones for rain, but I don't know. You would think you would have at least tried it, but I think that they just kind of wanted to roll with it. But I give so much kudos to Sean Payton. There's so many. I was watching DMAX live stream earlier, and people were like attacking him like he was awful. I thought today might have actually been his best performance as a coach, in my opinion, of all the games in the season, because he understood the elements. He didn't try to get all fancy. He still took some shots, which I thought was cool, but he stuck with the run game. They got creative in the run game. They made great adjustments after halftime. And he just kept going with it. And he knew it was going to be a dogfight, sloppy kind of a game. And he just embraced it and went with it. You know, if I was a Jets fan and I saw that they only ran the ball 23 times and Aaron Rodgers threw it 42 in that condition with having the lead for half the game, you've got to be furious. It's infuriating. So I thought Sean Payton was awesome today. I thought he managed the game well. At the end, I would say there was maybe 2 calls that I was like, oh, I didn't like the Bo Nix quarterback draw on the keeper, but I thought he was great. I thought he did an awesome job today. So I was uber impressed, just given the circumstances. It was like playing in a hurricane essentially today. even though it wasn't very windy.
Yeah, it almost makes you think like, oh, maybe we should have practiced instead of going to the pickleball courts and doing our walkthrough. Maybe we should have practiced in the hurricane just to warm up, because I didn't realize it was going to be that bad. That was insane. Quick question of DB94 that had a question, and Mark answered it. But the reason why that it wasn't reviewed for two reasons. One, we lost our first challenge on that Cortland Sutton pass that looked like it bounced off the ground. So because we were wrong on that challenge, we didn't get a third challenge. The second challenge, that knee, I don't know how they missed that, but like,
yeah,
that looked out to me, man.
It was out. It's like half of his knee is touching the line and half of his knee is not touching the line. It's like, well, what part of the knee are you counting? Are you counting, So, but of course we didn't get that call. So we were out of challenges, and that's where, in my opinion, it's the refs have to know the other team's out of challenges. Let's let the play run, and if it needs to get overturned, it can do that. But let's let the right call happen instead of blowing it dead when you're not sure.
Yeah.
And then you end up like costing a team a touchdown, essentially. And so, yeah, if it would have been under 2 minutes, it would have been automatically reviewed, like you said. But that's the reason why we couldn't review it. And again,
because it wasn't at first ruled a turnover. If it was at first ruled a turnover, they would have automatically reviewed it, regardless of what time in the game it is.
Right. And the thing that's crazy about it too, that drives me absolutely crazy and gives my like conspiracy theories like going, is when you blow the whistle after we pick the ball up and start running with it. You didn't blow it right away. So it's like,
well, they really should have just counted it as a touchdown, knowing that it was going to be reviewed anyways. But it was close. It was. I think when you watched it, it definitely did come out, but it was close.
Jonah Ellis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a stupid rule. It's a stupid rule that you should be able to challenge anything. Honestly, in my opinion, I just think that there's so much that we could do better, but whatever, man. It would have really sucked had that cost us the game, but but it's all all is good now, man. So
no doubt about it. And I want to talk about the pass rush a little bit as well. Let me pull up the stats a little bit. We can run through here. So we had 5 sacks, like a ton of quarterback hits. It'll be interesting to see how many like pressures and stuff PFF says we got, but we got PJ Locke with a sack, a tackle for loss. We got Justin Sternad with a sack, 2 tackles for loss. Zach Allen, tackle for loss. Jaquan McMillan, tackle for loss. John Franklin Myers, 1-1. Nick Bonino, 1 sack, 1 TFL. Half a sack each for Malcolm Roche, Jonah Ellis. Jonah Ellis also had a TFL. And yeah, that takes care of it. So we had 5 sacks, 8 TFLs. I mean, our defensive line was just absolutely menacing. And I was like, honestly, really impressed with Aaron Rodgers. Throughout most of the game, like he was still doing fairly well on those 3rd and longs. At a stretch, like he would just convert on them, man. Like a little slippery out of the pocket, but then you saw that, man, those hits were starting to add up, right? The attrition. And I really felt like that helped us when it mattered the most, man. Like the fact that we could put Aaron Rodgers under that much pressure and in crunch time, when Aaron Rodgers is known for all this stuff, to get 2 stops, 1 4th down stop, and then keeping Greg Zuerlein, man, he was close to missing a handful of those field goals today.
Totally.
And that's why I felt like we had a good chance of him hooking one because he wasn't accurate at all, despite those 3 makes prior.
I agree with you. I thought the same exact thing. I was like, he almost missed 2 that were from like 40. And I'm like, now it's 50. If those other 2, it was basically the same kick. It just was longer and it hooked past. But
it was exactly like my golf game, I'll push a little left, and then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna aim left, or I'm gonna aim right to compensate, and then when I do that, it goes dead right. So it works for me. But yeah, I see here DB94 in the chat. You guys talked about Palcho making a good impression. 1,000%, man. Yes, Alex Palchowski's been a stud. You can make the argument that this offensive line has been better with him instead of McGlinchey. That's 2 games in a row, and that's a hell of a defensive line.
No sacks.
Garrett Bowles was great today. The whole line was great, man. The line was awesome. So kudos to them. And Javonte Williams, do I ever owe you I won't owe you an apology yet, but thank you for making a believer in me today and shutting me up. You looked awesome today. He looked so good. He looked like old Javonte. He was angry. He was quick. And man, David, you're gonna love this, bro, because you got your David Talks Buffs channel too. The Broncos have taken a little bit out of the Buffs playbook and started running some pistol, which I love.
Yeah.
Because the second they started running out of pistol, man, things were just gashing open. And I'm like, that's what we need to start doing more. It makes so much more sense for this team. So kudos to them. And that 11-play drive that we had to result in a touchdown was monstrous.
The vision.
Go ahead, exactly what I was gonna say. The vision. It seemed like Javonte, was seeing stuff. And you saw that one time he broke a couple tackles, and then it was like a twisting run, and then he finally got tackled for a first down. He looked at the sideline. He's like, "Let me. I'm feeling it." And I'm like,
and they did.
Oh, okay, here we go. Haven't seen this in 2 years. Like that. Yeah, I agree. And one thing I will say about Paucho is he got screwed on that hold. Like the guy was up right here in his on his chin so bad, and they called him for a hold. And I was like, it's like illegal hands in the face. You could have called either one or both, but of course you only call our guy. But yeah, great performance by him again.
And yeah, he was fantastic. And all the criticism, everybody's saying that he's done. And not only was he, solid, I feel like in the few times that, we saw him in pass protection without I was paying attention, but with his running, like he saw holes today. He anticipated today. And I think sometimes if you're struggling to run out a gun, man, like it's just best to mix up that look so that they can just get a different look once they get the ball, running from pistol. I thought it was great. I want to shout out DB94 for the $5 super chat. Thank you for the cup of coffee.
Nice. Thanks, dude.
Yes. Yeah. He says, if Bidet is out long-term, will the Broncos be more conservative with Estime when he returns? I'm interested to hear y'all's opinion on this, but I don't think so. I think we're going to run all these dudes. And at some point, if we need to run Blake Watson, we'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree fully. I don't think they're gonna. It affects anything with Estime when he comes back. He's ready. I think if anything, it kind of makes it a little bit easier from a roster construction standpoint because there's quite a bit of backs once he returns. But I think, I would love to see Blake Watson. I really would love to just continue the experiment. But yeah, just like you said, I think they're gonna utilize everybody and hopefully just roll with the hot hand. But I don't think it changes much at all.
I agree. I think Estime is a totally different type of runner than Bidet, and I think he wants to just pound it. But like you said, Blake Watson is more of like it's interesting. McLaughlin and Bidet are very similar, and Estime and Williams are kind of similar. So you kind of have different flavors and different people behind it. So and Watson, I would say, is more like Bidet and McLaughlin. So. It would be interesting to see what happens with Blake Watson if they pull him up next week. Hopefully, have you heard anything about Bidet? Because that didn't look good.
No, I hope.
I heard somewhere they were talking about. All right, but the dog's got to go out, so I might have to step away here in a second. But
you're good.
Somebody was. I think Javonte in his post game was saying all like the news I heard. They said he was going to be good, so I don't think it's anything to the point where it's as serious as it looked. Obviously, there's more precautions, but to be honest, it could be an IR for him, just at least maybe a short term, just from a roster management standpoint. But thankfully, most importantly, he seems like he's going to be fine. So
that's good because I was very worried.
You can't mess with
that. I'm gonna take this dog out, but I'll still be listening to you guys.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was just gonna say backs. You just. I would know. Backs are just so tricky. You just never know. And they're hard to heal up from. Kind of like hamstrings. It's just like you can turn into spasms, can turn into other things. So hopefully they just did it precautionary. Hopefully maybe something just wasn't feeling right and he didn't want to risk it. But when you're strapping somebody to a board like that, you just go, oh, that doesn't look good.
I know. And yeah, I would much rather than be ultra precautionary with him. Don't want anything long-term or life-threatening, debilitating for him. But let's switch gears. Let's still stick on this offense a little bit, Jeremy. Of course, man, this was an ugly game offensively for the most part. Let's talk Broncos Muse coming in here saying, start Forsyth. That's all I gotta say. Luke Wattenberg, yeah, man, he was having some trouble today, kind of getting blown up there on some of the run plays. What'd you think of the performance of Luke Wattenberg today?
Yeah, I agree. The problem that the thing we have to keep in mind with centers is Lloyd Cushenberry did not look good until year 4. So we're trying to microwave Luke Wattenberg right now. And yes, he didn't look good. And yes, would I like to see Alex Forsyth? If the coaches think that he's looking better in practice, sure. But I will say you can't just get impatient with these guys because that position is very hard to, like, you're making all the checks, you're running the show as far as the line goes, and it's just going to take time. And also everybody's been talking about, these defenses, but the defense we went up against today, then the defensive line we went up against today, that's a tough one. I mean, we have just seen a murderer's row of defensive teams to start this off. So yeah, it's sometimes easy to lose perspective of just like, oh, he's playing bad, but it's like, yeah, he's like a 7th round, like, second-year player. So, I mean, the fact that he's even holding his own is like, you just got to keep his perspective with. It's going to take time. If he was great coming out of the thing, he wouldn't have been that, So, I think we'll have easier weeks of playing defenses. That defense looked great. The rain and everything else that was going on didn't help. But he definitely was the weakest link, but, he did enough. And Bo did not get hit nearly as much as Aaron Rodgers did. And we gashed today, like you said. Our run game finally got going. And, I mean, I'm not going to take credit, but, like, it was right when I texted you guys, we have an absolute no run game. And then we started running, and it was like, oh, okay, good. Yeah. The backwards jinx worked on that one.
Yeah. Keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Because Javonte, like, I don't know what happened, but he saw Bidet go down, and he was like, he ran like he was mad at the grass after that,
Yeah.
And I love that. That's the best Javonte, is when he is looking to hit people, and the vision that he finally showed a little bit was just like so nice to see, and we needed it so bad today.
I don't think we win this game without him, man. I mean, He was crucial on those two. Him and Jaleel, man, they had great runs for us on our 2 scoring drives.
Yep, we needed it so bad. Bo needed it so bad. I mean, that was compared to last week. The way Bo came out just looking amazing last week to this week, where it looked like he was wrestling a pig. It's just like, who knows what's going on? It's just like. He's throwing the football like he's shot putting it out there. I don't know what was happening. And I was just like, oh my, I've never seen what he, and like I said to you guys, I was like, he has big hands. They kept on saying, oh, okay, Rodgers has huge hands. That's why it's not affecting him. And then he'd like lose it. And you're like, okay, what happened there? But Bo Nix has huge hands too. And he played at Oregon where it's raining constantly up there. So yeah, like you said, I think hurricane conditions is different rain than normal rain. And, just there was a lot of things going on. People were fumbling the ball all over the place. But I will say this about Bo Nix. He had a couple throws there that Russell Wilson never made. Like,
break it down for us, Jeremy.
Those throws where it was like a 25-yard, like across the middle, hitting Cortland Sutton, like in stride. Those were so huge. And man, did we need those at that time. And I just felt like if he could get one really good pass, he would settle down. You almost need that first one to go. It's like basketball. Like, you just need see that first one go in. And then it's all of a sudden, I forgot about the 9 I just missed. And now I'm just going to start, get into a rhythm. So, that was key. And again, we've said it over and over, even in the losses, he just doesn't lose confidence. And I love that. There was a time in that fourth quarter, the look on Sean Payton's face and the look on Bo Nix's face going into that huddle, they felt like we're fine. We got it. And I love the fact that he had the confidence on that third down where Bo ran to the side and then still threw it. And even the commentator said it himself. He said, if there's any question on whether Sean Payton has confidence in Bo Nix, full confidence, that just got answered, because he's not going to let his quarterback do that if he just wants to hand the ball off. He gave it to him in crucial moments of, you decide whether you should throw or not or keep. And if you're doing that in the fourth game of your career, like, that's all you want. I mean, that is huge to see. And that winning games ugly like this gives you so much confidence. Mike Shanahan used to always say, and it always stuck with me because I didn't think of it at the time, but he was always saying, when your team battles adversity and you don't play your best football, but you still figure out a way to win the football game, that's the sign of a good football team. And that's exactly what we did today. We didn't play our best. We looked horrific on offense in the first half. We were battling the refs. We were battling the weather. We were battling Hall of Fame quarterback. We were battling drama. We were battling everything. We were battling being on the road for the second straight week.
Yeah.
And they still figured out a way to win it. So, like you said, Mark, in the beginning, never apologize for those.
Nope.
Never, man.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Get to this comment here really quick. A couple. Let's Talk Nuggets says, congrats, guys. Give the Jets more anger to play the Vikings next week. Yeah, which definitely gave his Packers a tough time today. Also, what happened to the Bidet? He just looked like some sort of back injury. So hopefully he's okay. Hit pretty hard on that play. But Bill Baggins saying O-line once again kept Bo clean. And I want to get and that's good. D94 is saying that Yahoo Sports put out a report 15 minutes ago stating a source says Bidet is expected to be okay. Wonderful news. That's great. But yeah, I do want to praise Bo's decision making. While the accuracy downfield was definitely hit or miss, right? I did not and you guys correct me if you guys remember a play that I'm forgetting, but I can't remember where he threw into double coverage or anything like that, where it was like, oh man, we're lucky that didn't get picked off. He's been good for those, plays in the first 2 weeks. He might have had a questionable throw or two against Tampa Bay. I can't remember, but I felt like overall in terms of the decision making, that is what is leaving me encouraged, that even though the offense was just struggling, he never forced anything that I felt like Drew Lock would do this all the time, dude. I feel like he would do this all the time. We're sputtering on offense, and then he just goes hero mode, does something stupid, makes it worse. I don't remember any of those plays today. He kept the ball, in his hands, out of harm's way. And I think that's one takeaway that I have from Bo Nix's performance on might have taken a step back or not hit his rhythm and timing, taking a step in that this week. But I thought his decision-making was pretty good today.
Yeah, 100%. No doubt. And I don't think we'll face, for the rest of the season, when you look at the schedule, I mean, obviously it's hard to predict out, but I don't think we'll face a defense moving forward that's as hard as any of the defenses we played in the first 4 weeks. It's been a gauntlet of a schedule for sure. So when you can win, what you can learn and you can develop like Bo has, I think it's huge. And I think that there's a lot of good things that he can take away from the first month of the season. Yeah. And I think it's going to pay huge dividends, man. And I'm excited to see him and the rest of the team in nice, warm, dry weather for the next couple weeks. So.
No doubt about it. D-Rock saying the D is back in Denver. No Diddy. Absolutely. Again, man, it just feels so good. I know that Zach Stevens and I talked a little bit about this, but just zooming out a little bit from this game, I love to see 2 years into this coaching staff, we're really developing Like, I thought we had an identity close to the end of the year, and I felt like we got better for the most part, like as the season gone on. Of course, the defense, we see that growth that we saw last year was for real. I mean, and they're growing even past that. Again, man, I feel like we got an elite defense right now, which is great. But kudos to Sean Payton and just I think the whole ownership, George Payton, like everybody not being too reactionary, firing guys left and right, anything like that. Just continuity, continuing to coach those values, have guys in the same system on offense and defense for a second year. And now this is when you see, I can't remember if you brought this up, Mark, or if it was Jeremy, but we only have one first-round pick playing on this defense.
Yep.
On this defense, that's insanity for pro scouting, pro development, and draft scouting and development, no doubt.
Yeah, and for people to go down and then step in to do that, that's what's so exciting about it. To see the people like Shernads and PJ Locks and those kind of guys, and you're just like, wow, you can just next man up and still not miss a beat. And I'll be remiss to not talk about Zach Allen again. Oh my God, dude is just he was a terror out there. Like that, he got that one false start on the guy because he was so scared that like he was going to blow past him again. I mean, Zach Allen, Aaron Rodgers is going to have nightmares when he goes into his darkness retreat. He's just going to see Zach Allen coming at him. You know what I mean? That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, he's been playing crazy
again. And PS2, both him and Zach Allen, every week after week, PFF rate them at like 40 grades. Like, are you out of your mind? Like, I haven't seen by far the best players on our defense. And they're like, Riley Moss, the best grade out of any defensive player in the league last week.
Wow.
PS2, 40 grade. You're like, how? Like, what are you guys looking at?
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like I'm glad you guys graded one guy so well, but it's like, what are you talking about? But Zach Allen has had bad grade after bad grade, and he's had great game after great game.
I know PFF too. They mark you off a lot for penalties, which I guess is kind of weird, but it's a little bit subjective. But like that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Riley Moss doesn't grade out really well this week, because I know penalties really hurt him. And real quick on PFF, I mean I know that they're good and bad, but if you look at Luke Wattenberg, we talked about it just a little bit earlier. He's actually been graded out very, very good, like very solid, especially for the last 2 weeks, specifically in pass pro. And he's really right now he's like a middle of the road type of a center. So I don't think he's a big issue at all.
Right.
The problem is that I feel like when he does have a bad play, it's very emphasized, obviously, because it's pressure up the middle and you see it.
Yeah,
but overall, he's been solid. And man, the growth that he's done from year 1 to 2 to 3 now gives me hope that he's just got such a high ceiling. Because when he was here as a rookie, he looked like one of the worst linemen I've ever seen play. And then in year 2, he looked better in spot duty when he filled in, and the fact that he ran away with it. So I think you're definitely sticking with Wattenberg and keeping the continuity across the board. There's no reason to change it.
Yeah. Let's not throw any more inconsistency right now at Bo Nix changing up his center. That's a Chicago Bears move. We don't need to do that right now, especially, hey, no sacks. Let's continue to build on this thing. And I want to go back to the defensive line, talk a little bit about that too. I mean, JFM coming back, homecoming. He had a great game. Again, sack, tackle for a loss. He was in Aaron Rodgers' grill all the time talking smack. I loved it. He played with an edge today, and I think, man, that's what I love is that this defensive line, and the broadcast was pointing this out too. Not only was it the starters, man, it was the 2 deep. It was Malcolm Roche. It was Jordan Jackson, man. It was all these guys shutting down Breece Hall, getting penetration in the offensive backfield. Like I'm so proud of how all these young guys are playing, and to get a win on the road like this against, I think the New York Jets are a good team. It just speaks volumes, I think, to the character that they have, the resilience, and on the flip side, I gotta say this is because I hate Nathaniel Hackett, man. This guy, it does not surprise me that the Jets had like close to 15 penalties. Probably the majority of those were on offense. It was inexcusable, man, to see all the procedural issues at home and shooting themselves in the foot all the time. This is what you get with Nathaniel Hackett. That dude's just a clown. That's just a clown. I will never forgive him for his time here, man. I just won't. And even though we didn't have a stellar offensive performance, we scored the only touchdown of the game. We scored double-digit points, and that's all that mattered at the end.
Yeah. Yep, I echo that sentiment, man. Nathaniel Hackett is an absolutely worthless coach. Great person, seems like a really nice dude, but he's a terrible offensive coordinator. I don't even think he calls plays when Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. He just sits there and says, yes, sir, no, sir. It's pretty pathetic. So it was nice to avenge the win and get it against them. But yeah, that's all I got to say about him. He's awful. Awful.
Yeah, it's one of those mistakes that I'm glad we made it. We figured it out sooner rather than later. Yeah. Seems like a great guy. Seems like a great hang. And maybe that's all Aaron Rodgers wants because he does it all himself. But yeah, it was nice to win that game for that reason. But I will say, like, one of the things I was conscious of, and the Broncos, I'm so proud of them. They did not fall for any of Aaron Rodgers, like trying to get them to get a free play, jumping off sides.
They were awesome. And
that is so big when it comes to playing Aaron Rodgers. He loves to get you to jump, and then we'll take the deep shot. And he seems to be at his best when he knows it's a free play.
Yeah. And it was his lineman jumping today. They had a lot of false starts.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was his linemen that were jumping. It wasn't our guys. And I was so proud because they kept looking like they were about ready to jump. Like they were like chomping at the bit. You could just see like the backs of their legs twitching, but they did not jump. And I was so happy that they didn't take the bait on that. That was so nice to see. I will say on that comment about JFM, I'm going to do the Denver Broncos. Remember those? Maybe you guys are too young. I don't know. Remember those like posters that they used to make of like Bo Jackson, where he'd be like black and blue, and he'd have like the shoulder pads and a baseball bat, and it'd be like the Royals and this, or they'd have like all these like the Bash brothers with Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire and all these things. They need to make an ambassador of violence poster for JFM. How do we not know that was his nickname? That is the coolest nickname I've ever heard. They should have like movies running on like Paramount with JFM as the ambassador of violence. Like that sounds like I'd watch that.
This is the first time I'm hearing this. His nickname is the ambassador of violence.
Yeah. So Robert Saleh in the press conference this week, I listened to it. They were asking about JFM coming home and how much are you missing him and all that stuff. And he said he coined him the ambassador of violence. And I was like, how did we not know about this? How did the Denver media not run with this as soon as we like traded for him? And so that was the big thing, is like all week is like, oh my gosh, how is the ambassador of violence going to show? And that's like, oh my God, that's the coolest nickname I've heard of a Bronco maybe ever. That's so cool.
You don't trade him away for a future 6th round pick. And I mean, is Yannick Ngakoue still not playing for them? I guess we didn't see him on the field today.
And then Reddick hasn't.
Or Hassan Reddick. That's right.
Yeah, they traded JFM for Reddick, and then they're not giving him a contract. It's like, dude, the Jets are going to jet, man. It's too funny.
Yeah. But yeah, no, dude, the fact that we have that guy and everybody who's been in the locker room, all the stuff in the training camp, were saying how much of like how a leader and how he rallies the team's like anger, not anger in a bad way, but like, that aggressiveness. And you can just see it. You need those guys. You need dogs, as like Von Miller and TJ Ward used to say. They got rid of all of our dogs. Well, we got them back. JFM, Zach Allen, those guys are dogs. Riley Moss is a dog. Like, I love it. I love Stranad today was one. I mean, they were just bringing like punishment, and it was so nice to see.
Yeah, even though this was obviously a low scoring game, like tough offensively, like this was, I don't know, like this, maybe it's because of the weather conditions, but I just really enjoyed watching this football game.
Me too, man. It was great.
Like I loved it, man. It was a dogfight. Sure, like you can label it ugly. Like, yeah, it was ugly, but to me, man, I would more categorize this as just a dogfight. Like, it was brutal. You had to overcome so much. It felt so different than like the Steelers game a couple weeks ago. It felt different than the Broncos Colts with Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett. Like it was just a violent game, and I'm just so happy that we won, man. I love winning these types of games every now and then. Now, I can't play this Steelers brand type of football every single weekend. I mean, Lord forbid that's what this turns into. But uh, every now and then when there's a game like this, man, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it caught me by surprise, and I liked it. Like because I check the weather all the time, like wherever the Broncos are playing. Usually, like, is it going to rain? And the whole week it was like, no, 25% chance it's going to be cloudy and like a little cooler. I'm like, oh, it's going to be nice. And I kind of got to the game a little bit late because I was finishing something up this morning, and then I was like, damn, like, okay, it's raining. It'll probably stop. And then I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of those games. But I just like you, man. I thought it was so fun. It was like 6-0 at halftime. And obviously, even though I was mad, we had like -7 yards or whatever. I'm like, I mean, being down 6 on the road, whether it's 6-0 or 26-20, whatever it might be, like, you'll take it. But I was like, unleash the old school football, man. And it really felt like the Tebow days in a lot of ways today.
Man. It really did. And I gotta say, man, it was just so great seeing Bo Nix. I felt going into the half. I can't remember if I texted you guys this, but I was feeling this way. It's just at halftime, I'm just like, we just need 2 scoring drives, man. Like, I feel like our defense is gonna take care of the rest. Because they were gifted 3 points off of that pass interference and like all that stuff. It's just like, we're gonna handle our business on defense. Let's just get 2 scoring drives on offense. And so happy that we can get Bo Nix's first passing touchdown out of the way now. It was nice to see at least he got better as the game went on.
I felt relief. I felt relief for him, man. I was like, I'm just sick of like thinking about it, talking about it. Hopefully it opens up the floodgates. But that was a huge bonus today to see.
Yeah. Jeremy, were you going to say something?
I was just saying, we texted in the middle of the game, and I was just like, when that catch happened, I was so scared that Cortland didn't get that second foot down. I was like, dude, you better not take this away from him. You finally get wide open in the end zone, and if you don't get your foot down, and then they showed the replay, and he just scraped it, and I was like, thank God. Yes. Man, that was so close. Because, I got so sick of that. It was like, okay, he played awesome last week, and if one guy breaks a tackle and scores, now it was a great game as opposed to just not having a throwing touchdown. I mean, it's just silly. Yeah. That's silly. But I'm just glad that was over with. And sorry.
You're good.
I'm glad that Cortland finally got one too. I think, that's, you could see like, even in that first half when they're sitting on the bench together, they were sitting right next to each other talking about it. And I like the fact that they're like, Cortland was such a Russ like guy last year that I'm glad that they're getting chemistry and building it organically. And even when it's tough, they're like hanging out and talking about it. That's the other thing about Bo Nix that I like is that he can be feisty, especially in like press conferences after a game and he gets asked stupid questions and he just gives like 1 or 2 word answers just because he's like annoyed. I like that in a quarterback, but I like the fact that he doesn't, like you said about, I mean, I like Drew Lock, but he doesn't lose his mind. He stays composed even when things aren't going well. And that's huge, especially for a young guy. That takes usually guys years to figure out. Some guys will just, it won't be their day and they just go into the tank and just start forcing stuff or just start, barking at their own team or whatever it is. And I just like the fact that he doesn't do that. It's so much easier to like clean up things after a win like this than after a loss,
Yes.
I like the lessons just feel so much like lighter because it didn't cost you a game. It didn't cost the whole the defense. Remember when after Peyton retired and we still had like Akib and all those guys and they were still crushing it and our offense was doing nothing. And it got to the point in the season where they were getting so frustrated at the offense for not holding up their end of the bargain, that there was starting to be, a rift in the locker room between the offense and the defense. And
Yes.
that's not what you want. And, they did this like retreat kind of week or whatever that they did to build chemistry. And I'm sure that it's helpful and all that kind of stuff. But it's also helpful when the defense bails you out in the first half and then you reward them in the second half.
Yeah.
That builds a lot of confidence because they go, you know what? He hasn't been able to do anything all day, but it was back to this, like you said about Tebow. It was like, just give him a chance at the end and let's just see if he can do it. And he just did it so many times that it started to be like, I don't know. I don't see how we could win this, but we're going to find out. And then, you start believing in those things, I mean, that's the whole thing going on right now in Denver, believe and all that stuff. But it's true. Like, if you have a guy that you believe in and he's your leader and, rookie and captain and all that kind of stuff, that's really, tell me the Texans don't believe in CJ Stroud,
Right.
Tell me, like, these young guys, when they show up and put themselves on the line, especially as, like, rookies, second year, what are they going to think? Third year, what are they going to think? You have to have those skins on the wall, as they say. And I just love the fact that he just did what he had to do. And we can say, oh, on that 3rd and 4 call to run it up the middle, maybe wasn't the best call, or on that keep, it maybe wasn't the best call. Maybe it was a little too conservative. If we could have got off first down there or got that field goal that Lutz missed, it would have iced it. But he did the game plan, and exactly what you said, David. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. Last week at Tampa Bay, he had 2 that could have been picked. The one where he had a miscommunication. Little Jordan Humphrey went inside, threw it outside.
That's right.
And then the one where he kind of threw it to Franklin, and the guy fell off of the tight end and dove back and almost got it. This time there was none. Even with his bad accuracy in that first half where he was sailing some stuff, none of them were like, oh my gosh, we got lucky there.
Yes.
None of them. So, and that's exactly what you need in those things. It's so hard as an athlete and as a competitor that's used to success to, like, keep hitting your head into the wall and not get impatient and not go, I got to do something. No, you don't. Just take what's there and don't be stupid with it. And that's exactly what he did. He bid his time, and when the play was there to make, he did enough and he made the play. And that touchdown was huge. And, how nice. If you would have told us we're going to be 2-2 2 weeks ago after the Steelers game, nobody would believe that. On the road against Tampa Bay and the Jets.
No.
Yeah.
It's a whole new season. And like before the season started, people were like, if we're 2-2 after 4, we're in great shape. That's exactly where we want to be. And we somehow did it the hard way. We climbed Everest on the backside of it somehow. Like, we got there one way or the other. But now it's like, don't get complacent. We're going up against the Raiders at home. That should be a winnable game, right? But the Raiders have had our number for whatever reason. For how many times? We have to just keep improving and don't get complacent about it. But I love it.
We're bringing back the throwback jerseys, guys. So we gotta.
Oh,
that's
yes.
right.
That's this weekend, man.
Right.
I'm excited. It's gonna look so pretty.
We're gonna bring hell on Gardner Minshew, man. That's the one nice silver lining with the Raiders winning this week, is I doubt they switched to Aiden O'Connell, and I think we're gonna wreak havoc on their offense, man.
I hope so. It's time. It's about time for that.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I did want to give real quick. I know we should probably wrap up here in a few minutes, and I want to get to this question here from DB94 as well. But just want to say, man, I want to give Cortland Sutton some props, man, because I know some people wanted to label him as like a diva or whatever with this contract thing. It never really seemed to be that huge of a deal, but I think when you're looking at how he was composed today, his composure on the sidelines, his composure with Bo, as you're pointing this out, Jeremy, I just couldn't help but think back to that close game a couple weeks ago. I forget who the Bears were playing. I think it was on Sunday Night Football, though, where Caleb's having some errant throws. He's getting hit, And DJ Moore for like the whole second half. I mean, it just felt like he was he just checked out, like complaining, sulking on the sidelines, having these like tirades on the sideline. Like that's not going to help the offense kind of get their stuff together. And yeah, we don't have the most dynamic wide receiver group right now. But one thing that I'll give them credit for is that they're level-headed. None of them are thinking me first, or anything like that. And they stayed composed, I think, in a very frustrating game. I'm not even going to get mad at the couple drops that we had today with all that rain. Like it just is what it is. But it was nice to see wide receivers can turn very quickly on their quarterback. And we didn't see that. We didn't see that today. And I just want to give, that's why Cortland Sutton's got that C. That's why he's one of our captains.
Yeah. No, very, very, very well said, David. Very well said. I mean, even, and I think it just goes to the kind of culture that Sean Payton is bringing here, man. You can see it. Mims hasn't been involved in the offense much, but when he's out there, he's helping guys up. People are positive. Josh Reynolds had 0 catches today, 1 target, had a bad drop, but he's there firing guys up and he's there blocking, and it's huge. And I think that's the reason we chose to get rid of Judy over Sutton. But I love what we're building, the celebration in the locker room. I think Sean Payton's doing a lot of really good stuff from the cultural standpoint. There's been a lot of things that he's gotten criticism for, and I think deservingly so. But building a team that is disciplined and respects and likes to play with each other, he's been doing a good job of that, and I think we'll only get better.
It's mental toughness, right? That's what it is. It's you built a team of mentally tough guys, and even when things went bad those first 2 weeks, the mental toughness showed through the second 2 games. Yeah. And like you said, Cortland Sutton's not whining. Shout out to Mims, got absolutely rocked on that one punt, and then secured the catch in the rain after every single time after that. I was so worried every punt. I'm like, oh gosh, don't muff this. I mean, it looked like I got in a car wreck, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, go out and catch these while guys are bearing down on you again, blind. It's like, that's not nothing, That was I was proud of him for that. That was good job of securing that. I mean, and another shout out, Mike Westhoff. Our special teams was absolute trash for how long?
Years, man.
Tom McMahon, no, sorry, but like,
who was the 22 Janos guy?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was the worst, man.
That was Tom McMahon.
No,
he went into politics.
He had a weird name too.
Oh,
God, they were talking about
the young guy.
It was the Kansas City assistant.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. What was his name? I don't even remember. Lost to history. But Mike Westhoff taking what had been perennial bad special teams play, and we have been, besides the let's kick 50 yards in the rain, I'll give you a break, you barely missed that, but we have been solid at special teams this whole entire year, and we were so much improved last year. I mean, that just goes to show you that's coaching. And it's not like we have like the greatest special teams players of all time, but you know what? They're showing up, and it's getting to the point that even when we don't kick it deep into the end zone, they return one out, I'm not even nervous. I'm like, oh, they're going to be in the right place to make this tackle. And every time, even when we kicked it off and they caught it at the 5, they would only get to the 25, and we'd still,
I almost prefer them kicking it right at the goal line, because I feel like our coverage has been, it'll pin them behind the 30, man.
Yeah. And
Brock Olivo, by the way, was his name.
What was it?
Brock Olivo. And then who was the clown that didn't want to talk to Joe DeCamillis? That was on Hackett's staff. That guy was also just that guy was so arrogant, and his special teams was terrible. Oh, I'm trying to remember his name. And then because we brought in Jerry Rosberg too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was Jerry Rosberg, not Joe DeCamillas, because I think he
didn't want to talk
from LA. And he's like, I ain't gonna talk to Jerry. I was brought in here to do my job. Like he ain't gonna talk. And our special teams were just trash. And then I loved it when Jerry Rosberg took over. He fired him along. We got rid of Nathaniel Hackett, he fired him too.
That's
and I thought that was great, but I can't remember his name. He was terrible though.
I forgot. But man, it just goes to show you how coaching matters. Mike Westhoff, dude, legend, that guy.
Yes.
I mean, and he's a much older man, like trying to teach and coach these like 3-4 generations difference of what he was brought up in, and doing just such a great job. I mean, getting through to him. I mean, you could tell Sean Payton, like, that was one of the things, is like, I got to have this guy, and I love it because he's
Dwayne Stooks. Dwayne
Stooks. That dude was.
And the best part about it is he hasn't had a job since anywhere.
Well, that's why he didn't want Dr. Rosberg. He was worried about doing his job. He was right.
Yeah. Jerry Rosberg was like everybody's favorite grandpa, man. Just cool, like, I remember his pressers, he would just tell stories for like 30 minutes. And like for some reason you're just listening. You're like, this is fantastic.
Oh yeah. Great story.
No, he should read audiobooks and like do all that sort of stuff. We need to get him on the podcast. That's what we need to do. We need Jerry Rosberg out here.
Like some hard candy and just tell stories. And it was so funny when he took over, remember? And he was just like, he said it without really throwing anybody under the bus, but like obviously he thought some stuff. He was like, these people have no idea what they're doing. Like you could just tell, like he was just like, this is not the way you talk to people. This is not the way you coach. This is not the way you do things. And yeah, that guy was awesome. That guy was great. I mean, when things weren't going well with Sean, people always go, oh, we should have kept Rosberg, all that stuff. But that guy was, I love that guy. That guy was you could just tell that's a good person. And he got through to young guys, and that tells you a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I want to get to this question here real quick, guys, before we wrap up. DB94. Again, thank you for the super chat earlier. He says, has your total win prediction from before the season gone up in the last 4 weeks, or are you skeptical of this team consistency? I'll answer first, and then I'll get y'all's thoughts. I had them going 9-8, 1 game improvement. I will say I didn't think our defense would take this significant jump. I'll say that. And there's going to be ups and downs with a rookie quarterback, regardless of how old Bo Nix is. So that was my prediction. I'll probably say, hey, we're probably around the same, just because of all the parity in the NFL. So many games are decided by one possession. A lot of these things can break your way or not break your way, as we've seen so far through 3 out of our first 4 games have been one possession games. So but I'm feeling great. Like, I really do feel like we can contend for a wild card spot right now. So yeah, like around that 9-win mark, I think we can hit it, if not over, if the offense clicks a little bit quicker. I don't know. Y'all's thoughts?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, same thing. I had them going roughly 9-8, 8-9, kind of in that range. Thought the 5.5 win total was always a little bit low, just given Sean Payton's history. But I mean, 9-8's just a little bit, right around 500 through the first 4 games. We're at 500. I think this team is only gonna get better and better overall, especially on the offensive side moving forward. So I don't think it's changed it much at all. It's been right around what I had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had about 10-7 or 9-8. Those were the 2. I was like, it's going to be somewhere around there. That's what I felt like. Optimistically, 10-7. I just felt like Bo wasn't going to take sacks, and he was going to be more accurate, and he was going to hit people in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And there were so many plays last year that just were hurt our team so much from just losses of taking sacks and pirouetting in a sack and holding onto the ball and that kind of stuff. And I knew that it was going to take him time to look great, but I knew that he was at least going to get the ball out to people, and it was that was going to look better. And that we've seen that for sure. We've seen that. I didn't think the defense would be this elite. Part of the reason we won so many games last year on that 5-win streak was because of the turnovers we were creating. And people were like, oh, you can't sustain that and all that kind of thing. But I just felt like if our offense was going to be better and not being that was the main thing Sean Payton said, is like, we just have to take less sacks, and that was killing us. I felt we could just improve a little bit. I knew this wasn't going to be a Super Bowl run year or anything like that, but I felt good, and the preseason looked great. So then people really got their, expectations high. We should have probably like tempered that a little more, but yeah, I mean, again, saying after 1 week, after the first quarter of football, 2-2, and we played the 4 best defenses maybe in the league, or 4 of the top, whatever, 7 defenses. We're one of them, I would say.
You saw what the Bucs did to the Eagles today, man.
Exactly. I saw that too. The Bucs were undefeated, ran into a buzzsaw with us, and then kept it going against Philadelphia. And you're just like, man, that gives you more confidence as a Bronco fan, because you're like, it's not a fluke. They didn't get lucky those first 2 weeks. They showed up and killed it again. And the Steelers were undefeated. Seahawks were undefeated going into today. So, yeah, no, we weren't playing any slouches at all. So, yeah, I know people were about ready to jump off a cliff after 2 games, but it was like, again, keep it in perspective of the teams we got to play. And, of course, your rookie quarterback and your offense, especially with some injuries, like, it's not going to start out like 40 points a game. It's like, it's completely unrealistic. So I think we're on track. And, I think if we would have won the first 2 games and then lost the next 2, we would have been feeling a lot worse than we are right now.
Yeah.
I think we've been building. And look, those first 2 games that we lost, yeah, they were ugly, but we were in them. Like, those are 2 close games against undefeated teams that were playing really, really well. And so we haven't really had a game where you're just like, oh my gosh, we just got blown out of the water. And yeah, I think there's a lot to have confidence in. So yeah, I think we're right on schedule.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said, Jeremy. Mark, Jeremy, thank you guys so much, man. Being willing to do this after the game. It's always a highlight of my week for sure, especially coming off a Broncos win. Let's be sure to get together after the Raiders game. But Mark, before we tune out, let us know where to find you and what you got coming up this week. Oh, you're muted.
You think I figured this out by now? I appreciate it. Yeah, you can follow me on the tube here at Marky Sports Denver, and on Twitter at Marky_sports. I'd be really appreciate it. I'm on a mission. I'm almost working towards that 500 subscribers, man. So it really helped me out to be able to get there and grow the channel. But yeah, if you love Denver sports of all kinds, right? Obviously the Broncos, but the Nuggets and the Avs that are going to start up here soon. Yeah. I definitely, look at all of them. And yeah, I'm still getting I got the all 22 stuff working. I figured out a way how to start recording it, but now it's just a matter of getting the drops and the templates. Cool. But I really want to focus, I think, this week on a film review, but really towards the offensive line, because I don't know how much passing we can really highlight this week. But I think there was, especially in that second half, I think there was so many good clips of the the O-line just opening up the hole. So you'll see a lot of that, and then we'll look on to the Raiders and break that down and have a lot of combos, man. I'm excited, and it's always fun, and it's a lot easier to do these things after a win. So appreciate it.
Definitely.
No doubt about it. And Jeremy, where can we find you on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter. I think it's at Jeremy Otten. And then
yes, first and last name. Yep.
I'm Jeremy Sean A on YouTube. Next week I will be in Mexico, so I will try to figure out if there's a way to do a pod. If that's not doable, then hopefully it's another win that hopefully I can watch the game, right? I'm going to try to use the VPN or do whatever I need to do to try to watch it. But yeah, so we will try to make that happen.
Well, if you can get on, man, you got to have a tequila shot in your hand and you got to have a sombrero on your head. But only if we win. If we lose, then I would just say the Wi-Fi don't work.
Yeah. Right. Say less. Yeah. I'll do it. That's a bet right there. I'll do that.
Well, love it. Yeah, Jeremy, have a great time in Mexico. Have a blast. And yeah, hopefully we can get together after another Broncos win. Hopefully we can string a third win together on this this win streak and beat the Raiders for the first time in years. We got to do that if we're going to get a wild card. So shout out again to everybody in the chat, DB94 for your super chat. That was great. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to both David Talks Broncos, Marquee Sports, and we will see you guys again next week. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.